Hi, everybody, again. My name is Ricardo Reyes, and I will now be giving you the second talk in this segment, which is going to be a tech talk, which the title would be AWS is pretty much a giant buffet. Now, when talking about food and technology, there's this fine little line in the middle that defines between what is in the IT world and what the real world works around. Bear in mind, I'm drawing here a parallel. They're not exactly equivalent in such a manner that they're the same. But when we talk about real world, we have to consume food. Food allows us to to gain energy and keep doing our stuff. Without food, we cannot complete our tasks. We cannot live our daily lives. We enjoy food. We eat as much as we can. There's different types of food. In the world of IT, the equivalent is a computer. Without a computer, we cannot do anything. We needed to do our tasks, to create our stuff, and to work around it, everything. Now, sometimes we can have food in the house and we grab little parts, we make a meal for ourselves, and we eat it. That takes a lot of work. It normally is better for yourself to work on your own computer and to eat on your own house. But there's sometimes where we don't really want to do all that job. We just want to eat the food. We just want to consume it. So in the real world, we go to restaurants and we just go, we order our food, we eat our food, we have a great time, an amazing time. In the world of IT, this would be equivalent to having a server where we don't carry the server everywhere. We just go to the server if we have permissions and we have the space, X, Y, and Z. But we work on the server. We have a virtual machine on the server. We do our tasks on the server, and that's it. We do everything in there. It stays there. Everybody's happy. I'm not managing it. I don't care what happens to it. We just use it to fulfill the needs. Now, there's moments in our lives, in the real world, where we have events, where we say, hey, I'm going to have a bunch of people over to my place. I'm going to order pizza. The easiest thing to handle. Everybody loves pizza. We just have to get a couple of things ordered. But there's three things that happen every time you have a pizza party. The first one is you order way too many pizza, and now you have a bunch of leftover pizza. What am I going to do with it? Do I just eat pizza for like a month? What? The second one is when you don't order enough pizza, and people who eat at different amounts, maybe I can eat 3 slices and somebody I know can eat 1, and then there's somebody who can eat a whole pizza by themselves. So there's moments, the second scenario is where you don't have enough pizza for everyone, and everybody, you have to kind of divvy it up. Maybe somebody who is more hungry, you have to tell them, I'm sorry, dude, you're only gonna have access to 1 slice of pizza. I'm sorry. And the third one, which doesn't happen that often, and it's a magical interval, which is you order just the exact amount of pizza for everybody. And there's no leftovers, and there's nobody hungry. Everybody walks away happy and full. That analogy can be translated to servers as well. There's some times where we have a lot of employees who are going to be working on the server. Everybody wants access to it. There's people who need it more than others. There's people who are going to need larger quantities of servers, and we fall into the same interval. There's some times where we can have a bunch of servers, and when we can have 5 servers to put a number, and we're only using 2. So those 3 servers are really extra. What am I going to do with them? They're being charged just for maintaining them. Then there's other moments where we need 5 servers, but we only have 1. What do? Do I order more servers? Do I provision more? But if I provision more and then they don't use it, you get where I'm going. It's the same equivalent. And it also has that magic scenario where we have the exact amount of servers that we need. Now, that last one it's kind of wishful thinking and hopeful thinking. So I'm going to draw a parallel to it. When in real life you want to feed everybody in a giant event as an IT, you have an event. Let's call it a wedding. In a wedding, at least a Mexican wedding, you can invite people from 50 to 100, 150. You have a set amount of people. And you're going to buy all of these people their meals. They're there to celebrate your wedding. You're going to buy them meals. But what do? You send them a card, a letter, an email, whatever it is, asking them, hey, I'm going to be buying your meal, please confirm that you're coming. I know people who have signed contracts where it's like, you are willing and you are going to attend to my wedding. I am not going to waste money on your dish. And in those sorts of events, there's always people who at the last minute cancel, and it's like, okay, well, sad, one of the meals is going to waste. But then there's some people who bring party crashers or their surprise plus one, and you're like, well, I cannot feed you. I'm sorry, you are out of the list. So that is a special event where in the real life, you make people sign, hey, you're coming, right? In the IT world, it happens every day. Every day we have an event, a giant wedding, but instead of ranging from 50 to 150, 100, it ranges from 50 to like 30,000. So it's hard to gauge what's the middle ground to buy food in order to keep everybody satisfied and not waste a lot of money. So if in the real world, we make them sign, hey, you are coming to my wedding. In the IT, what do we do? Because we cannot do that. We cannot grasp how many people are coming. We just know that they came. They came and either they got served their food or they came and the server crashed and they got to eat nothing. So what happens in these kinds of situations where we have to handle a bunch of food and going back to the real world? What do we do? Well, we don't hire a restaurant and buy 150 people. We contact a buffet service. A service that is designed to create vast amounts of food to fulfill everybody's needs at the party. Depending on your wedding, you might have like dinner and then something for when you're really drunk and to calm down the drunkenness. But what's the equivalent to that in IT? What can we quantify that? And that's where the cloud comes in. The cloud is this amazing on-site buffet that you hire and they come in and they serve the exact amount of food that everybody needs at the exact specific time that they ask for it. And the best part is they only charge you for what you consume. In a buffet, in the real world, you pay a dividend, a specific amount, let's call it $10, and then they tell you, go eat your heart out. If you eat a lot, then you can enjoy the buffet a lot. But if you don't eat a lot, then those $20 maybe, well, $10, sorry, may be a little bit too expensive. Hey, I'm not that hungry. I don't want to eat that much. On cloud, it's the same. On the IT world, it's the same, but we now have this giant buffet service where they tell you, welcome, your subscription is a really small amount, cents. Please go in, eat whatever you want in the amounts you want, and then come back and we'll charge you based on how much you consumed. So if you imagine that, if you imagine the cloud, but now on the real world, if there was a service like that in the real world where I can go and just pay for what I eat, then I would be there every day, you know? Or I would hire them for every event I had. If they told me, we're gonna have food for you available for all of your guests, it doesn't matter how much, we're just gonna charge you for what you consume. Even if there's leftovers, don't worry about those, I'll take care of those. You just be happy and eat. I don't know about you guys, but I would use it all the time. So the cloud in IT. The cloud allows us to do that. Now, in the world of cloud, there are three major buffet services. The first being Amazon Food Services. Second, Microsoft's All-In. And the third one, Google Food Platform. That's a little pun for everybody who is not into too much of IT. I altered the names. They're all around cloud. Now, out of these three major buffet services that give the service that I just explained, the oldest one, and arguably the one with the best quality, I'm not picking favorites, it's just based on the talk, it's Amazon Food Services. So what is Amazon Food Services? Well, it's a giant buffet where you have access to 175 unique dishes, divided into 27 different categories. That is a lot of food. That is a lot of very unique food that we could all be consuming or that has specific purposes that we really don't know. I don't know how to taste meat. I don't know specifics like 3/4, medium rare. How do I eat meat? And they have 175 ways of doing it, different dishes. So when you arrive at a buffet, specifically Amazon Food Services buffet, you may feel a little bit overwhelmed by the choices that you have. And just as a quick disclaimer, they have amazing numbers. They service to 27 different categories. They have 77 availability zones. 2,445 countries are served, and 220 points of presence. That is all just a flex of Amazon Food Services. It's a way of saying, hey, we can service you anywhere you want. You could even ask for delivery. Okay, fun to say. So when you arrive at Amazon Food Services, you might feel a little bit overwhelmed. That's a lot of food. That's a lot of variety. And again, you want to get the best out of what you're eating. You're not here just to consume. You're here to eat, to have fun, to enjoy your meal. So what happens? Well, in the IT world, there's 175 unique dishes that you need to learn how they work or how they mix together. And at the beginning, that may seem a little bit overwhelming. That's a lot of information to cram into your little head. Not little, whatever. So what happens? This is where this parallel works. Going back to the real world, if you arrived at a buffet that had 175 unique dishes and 37 different categories, you would ask one person or one entity, how do we proceed? And that is your gut. You enter the buffet, you see all the food, you go, that's a lot of food, I'm hungry. What do you want? And then your gut answers you, hey, I don't know, let's start with something, I'm craving something spicy, but not too spicy. So let's go for Mexican instead of Indian. And then, hey, I want something Italian. Italian always works. Let's put up some pasta. Hey, we need something a little bit more heavy in order to fill the stomach. Let's grab some meat, some Brazilian meat. And you just start. You start filling your plate in the real world. You start filling your plate until the point where you no longer can fill anything into that plate. And you go, okay, this is about to fall over. This is an excessive amount of food. Let's go down and consume it. You sit down, you eat everything on your plate, you stand up, and you're ready for seconds. What happens when you go for seconds? You're not going to repeat what you just ate. Unless it was super delicious and you were like very specific on, hey, I want to eat my heart out right now for pasta. But if not, you have 175 unique dishes. Let's say you've already consumed 10. I'm going to go try 10 more. And that's it. Little by little, you start eating everything you can from the buffet. Little by little. And then you get to the point where you're like, I'm about to die. Please, let's leave this place before something happens to me. And you come back the next day and you go, hey, we still have access to the buffet. Let's keep on eating. Let's keep on trying the new dishes that they have. And little by little, you start doing it. And that's the idea behind learning AWS. Little by little, you should start taking the services from the categories that you feel are something you would like. Now, if I'm correct, is the next slide. Yes. While it's fun and all, you do have 27 categories to choose from. In AWS, it can range from all of those. I'm not going to read them. I cannot memorize them. Well, I can, but it will be way too much information to just spit them out like it was a rap. But you get the idea. You get the notion of where I'm heading with this. You see the AWS catalog, and then you see something from the buffet, and you go, okay, so I love databases, and I love pasta in the real world. So for me, Italian could be databases. I could start eating something, let's say, Indian, which was Compute Engine, which is amazing, but I really, really like Italian. So I'm going to balance it out. I'm going to eat a little bit of Indian and a little bit of Italian. That way, I enjoy the meal to its fullest. So going back to the IT world, you can start learning something that you're passionate about. Start learning about databases at the same time and consuming a little bit from Compute Engine. Then I know at least there's people who love their machine learning. So maybe that could be your dessert. If you learn about Compute Engine and databases, which are core services, then you could be a little bit cheeky and have a little bit of ice cream. You go over to the ice cream section, you grab something, and on the IT world, you go over to machine learning and start gathering like, oh, that looks fun. So keeping going with this analogy is after going to that buffet, we're in the real world right now. After going to that buffet for a month, or let's put it 2 weeks around. After 2 weeks, you start creating something. Something weird happens in your mouth. You start creating culinary experiences. You start understanding your food. You start understanding like, hey, I know that mixing Italian and Indian was not a good idea. That hurt my tum-tum. But I know that if I begin with something easy, like let's say an American potato soup, and then we jump from that into an Italian. I'm sorry, I'm getting hungry, and I'm sorry for everybody that I'm getting hungry because I am using food, and it's the morning in Mexico and it's the afternoon in the European Union. So when this is over, go and eat something delicious. So you start balancing out the way that you're consuming your food. You understand now your food to a degree where you say, this goes with this, that mixes well with this, and you create what in the real world will be a culinary experience. In the Italian world, you have a culinary experience, the way to eat food, which is the antipasto, then primo piatto, then secondo piatto, then il contorno, and lastly, dolce. To put it into an order, you first need to eat something that opens up the stomach, which in Italy tends to be cheeses, maybe slices of ham. You nibble a little bit, then you go from the primo piatto, which in Italian is the plate that fills your stomach with good stuff, but not the best. So the primo piatto is pasta. They serve you giant amounts of pasta. Italy is great. Then the secondo piatto, which is the strong part of the meal. In theory, this is something that has to fill you up to the maximum capacity. So secondo piatto would be something with meat, fishes, chicken, around that. Then il contorno. It's something to alleviate all the things we just put in our mouth. Il contorno, at some moments, it's a salad. You eat something, not Caesar salad. I'm forgetting the name. It's the tomato slices with mozzarella slices. Oof. Jesus Christ. And then after that alleviation, you have dolce, which is something sweet. You eat some ice cream, some gelato, anything around it. That is an Italian culinary experience. And that translates into many other things. In Mexico, we have something specific, something like that, which is, again, over here, it's a botana, entrada, plato fuerte, guarnición, and postre. It's pretty much the same I just mentioned. We switch around the little things. For example, entrada would not be spaghetti, would not be pasta. But hey, everybody into their own, right? So after eating at a buffet for 1 week, you start understanding your food. You know how it works. You know what's inside of it. You might even know how it's made. And you start mixing them up and start consuming them in a way that now it makes sense to you. It makes sense to you, and you leave the restaurant happy. How does this connect to AWS? Well, we start understanding the services. We start understanding services. We start understanding how they work, how they connect to each other, and we start creating solutions. At this point, we know, hey, we need Route 53, in this case, of course, we need Route 53 in order to be our entry page into the internet. But I'm not going to let anybody enter it. So it's going to come in, it's going to go through my security services, the IAM services, and then through the VPC, the virtual private cloud. Then from there, it's going to go into an elastic load balancer to make sure that the servers are not going to be overwhelmed. From there, it goes to a compute engine, an EC2. That compute engine is going to process things, and it's going to have to store them somewhere. So they send it to a bucket. And then from there, you may do something fun with it, like send it to a machine learning algorithm through a pipeline. Now, for those of you who don't really know what I'm talking about, that's the idea. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you don't know the food that you're consuming. And that's okay. Nobody's born with the knowledge that, hey, that's how you connect those. You have to learn. You have to eat them, learn about them, understand them, and then start building the solution. Now, it's easy in the real world because a culinary experience can be something like a 5-time meal, 5-course meal, which is the ones that I'm using as example. But in the IT world, someone can come up to you and go, hey, I just want a great experience. And you go, okay, cool. How many do we, like, how do I do it? And they just say, no, you propose me a solution. And in the IT world, sometimes we have solutions which are like 50 course meals, 50 services working together to create this solution. So it is a little bit higher and tougher to like start combining, because now imagine that. Imagine combining 50 meals into one single culinary experience. Impossible. But in the IT world, it works. That's the parallel. So what I'm heading to in this direction is that in order to create your culinary experiences, you have to start trying the dishes. I will now leave the parallel aside and focus all on AWS. In order to start working with AWS, you have to start fidgeting with it. You have to start trying it, learning about it, reading about it, and seeing how it works with others. You do have 175 unique services, but you don't need to try them all in one sitting. You need to start consuming them little by little at your own pace. Now, when you consume, and I'm gonna go back to the real world again, sorry. When you consume, everybody has a different plate. I know that my plate, I tend to eat large amounts, so my plate may be big, but I know people who have a smaller plate, and there's nothing wrong with that. You consume your food at your own speed. You should just be eating to fulfill yourself and make sure that you're not bloating out and going, oh my God, I want to die. So just consume at your own speed. It's the same with AWS. You just have to start trying it out. You just have to start seeing how things fit together. And maybe at some points your solution is wrong because that doesn't go connect with that. You don't really need that, and X, Y, and Z. That's why all the experts around you are going to be there to help you. But the main ingredient for this is to create your solutions, you have to start working with them. Now, with that last thing in mind, I do want to mention, there is nothing noble about being better than your fellow man, only being better than your former self. We had to eat at our own pace and the way that we feel comfortable with. But we do have to start, and there's nothing, and whenever you think of AWS, just remind yourself, this is just a giant buffet. It's Amazon Food Services. I'm just gonna start little by little. And with that, thank you so much, everybody, for being part of the first Ignite Talk session. It's been so much fun. We